Okay, so good morning, everyone. It's still morning, and I have a very unpleasant thing to stay between you guys and your lunch. So I'm going to be quick and short. And my name is Andras Schaffer, and perhaps some of you know me by the nickname Els Bundy. I work as a developer and mostly focusing on all the mission planner and Lua scripting and stuff like that. So when I saw the preliminary timetable that Michael is not planning to do a mission planner update, I asked him that, shall I do it? And he said, yes, go ahead. So thank you, Michael. And what I'm trying to collect here, some updates since the last mission planner update, which was in 2023. And first of all, this mission planner is a mature program. It's been developed for more than 10 years, 12 perhaps. And yes, we know the user interface is outdated, but it will not be updated. No more April Fool's joke. But it's constantly getting updates, getting new features, and it's always supporting the latest Autopilot firmware. So besides MEF proxy, this is the go-to GCS software for Autopilot. Since the last update, there was more than 500 commits and 35 contributors to the mission planner code. And I have some sources who said that there is a new full release imminent. So it's gonna be in a couple of days, weeks. But perhaps you know that mission planner release cycle is a little bit strange. There is major releases in every year, half year, 2 years. It depends, but the new features are always included in the so-called beta releases. So if you want to check out the new features, or if simply you want the support for the latest Autopilot, you always have to update to the latest beta version, which is actually the most recent version. Okay, let's say some new functions since the last update. The first one I would like to show you is the new gimbal interface presented by Robert Long. And this one of the most requested things in Mission Planner, because perhaps you know that you can put the FPV stream on the HUD and you're fine with it, but it's not really good for gimbal cameras and moving around the gimbal. So the new gimbal interface, you can just add, you should add a video feed to the map. Currently, I don't have a video feed and the gimbal, so I'm just going to show the interface for you. And of course, you can sweep for the map, and you can pick it out as a separate window as well if you're using multi-display setup on your GCS. And you can control directly the gimbal from a right-click menu. All the necessary gimbal functions are here in the menu. Plus, you can set up your own clicks and keystrokes to get a full control of your gimbal. So there is a click to point, click to follow on the video, which is also something that I got requests many end users to please implement it. So it's there in the mission planner, and you can use it with standard gimbal that is compatible with Autopilot. And also the video stream information is coming from Mavlink as well. So there is a Lua script for it when you can set up your video stream information, and the video stream information is coming from the Autopilot. So you don't have to configure your video stream in Mission Planner. Okay. And of course, you can close it. Okay. Raise your hands if you know that what did Control W does. Okay, Peter, you know, no, not you. And Michael, you are not qualified as well. So, does anyone know what that does? If I show you this menu, it's called the propagation settings, but it's lying. You still don't know what is it? This is one of the most interesting and most, I don't know the right word for it, sorry. So this is the most interesting part of Mission Planner and most least known function for Mission Planner. There are 4 functions in this menu. One is the terrain. Okay. I think it's been shown by Michael a couple of times that coming from the terrain data that is included in Mission Planner and downloaded from, is it from Google, right? SRTN. So you have a visualization of the terrain. The change in this menu is that you now have the reference scale, because if you zooming out or zooming in, the colors are changing dynamically. So you now have a solid reference at what altitude are you using. And also you can filter out certain altitudes. So if you don't want to show something which is, let's say, above 1,500 meters, you can just filter it out. This filtering out is important because it's very computing, it's intensive, so you need a beefy laptop for this function. And the other one, which is the elevation. Also, the change in the elevation is that now you have a scale which is coming from 0, which is red, to 5 meters, which is purple, which means that this is the elevation relative to your vehicle's actual altitude. Everything is red, it's at or above the altitude of your vehicle. So if I'm starting the other infamous menu and arming the vehicle, you can see as it getting altitude, say fly here, 50 meters. As it's raising up, the area is decreasing. Yep, go ahead. The buffer is the color for zone. So it's 5 meters buffer. Red is red, and if you in the let's say green or purple area, you have to look because it's gonna be red very quickly. Okay. Where are you? And you can also increase the clearance.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Learning the new microphone system. Is it possible to link in your own data for this feature? Like I have some LiDAR scans.
Yes,
I need
that's
to
the
do this.
best part of it because normally it's SRTN. But if you have a digital elevation model, it's working from the same database that the terrain database in Mission Planner. So if you put a digital elevation model in your GeoTIFF, it will show the data from there. This is the advantage of using a single altitude database in Mission Planner. Okay, one more thing. It's called the propagation. When you can see that what is the direct line of sight for radio communication from the ground point, the home point, and the current position of the vehicle. This is a rough calculation. This is just a line of sight, so no Fresnel zones and other things, but it's a good reference point that an operator should not fly behind a mountain, which they do, by the way, many times. Okay. Next one. Okay, there is one more change in the setup part, which is the serial port screen. Usually, you have to set up your serial port in the parameters. Now, all the actual parameters have a setup screen for all the serial ports, thanks to the fact that we have a serial TXT available via Mavrink, which contains all the ports and data on the Arduino Pilot. And I was told that this update was older, but when I changed checked the update log, it was much recent. The old SIC radio, or SIK radio screen is now updated to handle all the RF design radio parameters. So you don't need the separate RFD setup tool to set up your RFD radios correctly. But of course, it's still working with the good old SIC radios. Okay. And one more, it's a terrain maker. So I think that we all know that how can you make a terrain data file from Arduino Pilot? You go to a website. Okay. The problem is that it's only working from SRTM data, and it's an external website. But in Mission Planner, if you select an area and say make terrain that, now you can create a terrain data file right from Mission Planner, which means that the digital elevation model data we also included in the data. And you can generate down to 5 meter resolution. Only 5 meter because there is a limitation in Arduino Pilot that you can have only 2 gig file size on the SD card. Otherwise, you can go down to 1 meter. So if you have a Linux-based or a Raspberry Pi Linux-based Arduino Pilot installation, you can go down to 1 meter if needed. Okay. And it's generated that file, and you can copy it to the SD card. And actually, I get a question when I publish this that, okay, why do we need a 5 meter resolution terrain that? Because with some changes in the terrain following code, you can make very close and very precise terrain following even with a copter if you have precise enough data in the terrain, from the terrain. So actually, there is one company who doing spraying of vineyards in the hillsides, and they are using terrain data with 1 meter resolution and following the precise contour of the terrain. Okay. And another tricky question, what's going to happen if I put a waypoint in Mission Planner or in Arduino Pilot and the altitude is 0? Sorry? Never mind, okay. It actually will do nothing. It will keep the current altitude when start the waypoint. The problem is that most of the operators are not knowing this. And I have recently at least 2 crashes when they're generating waypoint data from an external source, an external program, and they load it to the Arduino Pilot via Mission Planner, and they went right into the hillside because they think that, okay, the relative altitude is 0, I mean, I'm going to climb. No, you will not. So now if you create a waypoint with 0 altitude, you will go get a warning that, are you pretty sure that you want to do this? Because this is not the behavior that you're expecting, unless you know that's what it's going to do. Okay. So if I was talking about only Mission Planner changes that are released in the official code, that will be the end of the presentation. but there are an increasing number of called third-party plugins, which are not included in the Mission Planner code, but available from GitHub to install or compile or install by your own. I collected a couple of them. First three is from Yuri or Yuri Rage. He asked me to use his nickname. And he providing free, very interesting plugins into Mission Planner. One is called the Planner Macro. So, which is intended to help you if you have a certain structure of your missions and you want to recreate them very easily, which means that you have a takeoff, you have a do set altitude or a do set speed and some gimbal settings and some script messages, then a couple of waypoints, then again something that you want to set and so on. So you can make a template which contains the common commands, and using a specially formatted do jump for including the waypoints when you're applying the macro. So the fourth parameter of the do jump command, which is not used by the way, tells you that you can replace this command with the waypoints from the beginning up to this point. So what I have here is to take off do send script, set camera, a do jump 1, which means that the first waypoint will be replacing here, and some do aux function and a do jump for 999, which means all the remaining waypoints. Well, yep, go ahead.
Question. It's fascinating to me that the map is on the left and the waypoints are on the right. I would love to be able to do that. How did you do that?
It's called switch docking. It's there for 10 years. Sorry.
I had no idea. Just like I just learned about Control W today.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Mission Planner is like Microsoft Word. Sorry for the analog, but you use only 20% of it. And that's true. Sometimes I even wondering that, okay, is it there really? Is it working? So and if you start writing plugins for Mission Planner, never ever start implementing a function unless you're absolutely sure that it's not already implemented twice in the Mission Planner code. Okay, so and I save this mission and or this. Come on, what are you doing? Anyway, and I just put down a bunch of waypoints and say add macro and loading the macro, and it's automatically updating my mission based on the macro settings. It's good for testing, good for surveying missions, and so on and so on. Okay. The next one, and we are getting to the interesting territory, is called, it's called Fence Replanner. The fields to cover goes to the next one. It's a typo. So it's called Fence Replanner. Actually, it's a couple of functions included this plugin. The first of all, if I have an area with a number of exclusion zones or fences, and I want to plan around those fences, there are two functions that helps you in this. First is if you draw a polygon that is cross-sectioning the fences, you can always say that, okay, please trim my polygon, and it's trimming your polygon around the intersection fences, which helps the grid function to plan more accurately around this. And now you go to AutoVP, let's say an easy survey. So it's already planning around the intersections, but it's not planning around the internal ones. So when I say accept and say precisely plan my mission. And now it's planning around. So add defenses into your mission to avoid. Of course, you can set the segment length and margin and how many waypoints you want to put down in a certain distance. So you can add a very coarse or a very fine plan around. This is definitely good for spraying missions or whatever when you need to, not automatically or not autonomously going around the fences. Otherwise, you use avoidance. Okay. And the other one, the third one from Yuri, is called the optimal coverage. And this comes to lawnmowers and ground-based vehicles. And it's all started that there is the research paper called Fields to Cover, which is a very long and very mathematical research paper about the optimal way to covering a given area. And they have a Python implementation of this research paper in an algorithm, which is good, but it's not compatible for anything. So what Yuri did is to add the REST API to this Python code and created a plugin. Oops. Which is calling this API and do a planning for the optimal path. Can go to very fine and use different planning methods. If you need more information about this, you should read the research paper that how many type of approach they can use. The only problem is that the engine is running in a Python code in Linux or Unix. But if you have a VSL, Windows subsystem for Linux, installed on your Windows, you can run it in that and use it in Windows as well. So it's basically back here in the Linux subsystem, and it's running in a Docker container, so you can install it by no more than 3 command lines in your Linux subsystem. Then you have it on with you on the field. Okay. The other thing is for writing plugins. There was a lot of questions about how can I write plugin, what can I use in plugins, and Bob wrote a very detailed series on Discuss about. It's called the anatomy of the plugin. It's including the plugin structure, how you can create your project in Visual Studio, and how you can make your own plugins. So this is definitely something that you should read. And the last one is made by me. The first one is, go back here. And it's called the Messages NG, which is supposed to be an update to the Messages tab in Mission Planner. The original Messages tab, we all know well, is just a text box. All the text is coming down and you have to sort out, is it important or not? And sometimes Autopilot could be pretty chatty. So important messages could lost in the noise. But here, this plugin does that, collecting all the information, all the messages that coming from ArduPilot, and try to sort them and color code them based on their severity. So if I disconnect here and start a Cito, it's going to connect. Okay, I have a Lua script running in this simulation, which is generating a message with severity 1, 6, and 4. And you see that there are the messages with color coded. But first of all, you can detach the message tab. So you can put it whenever you want, especially in your multi-display configuration. Then you can filter by severity category. So you can see either all messages, the error messages, the error and warning only, or the information messages. You can delete them by clicking the delete. So if I was selecting the info messages, no are left is the two warning and the error message. And if I start flying, you can say that, okay, I'm not interested in messages like RV motors. I said, okay, I would like to ignore them. So they put these messages on the list, and if the same message come in, it will not display again. So you can ignore specific messages. Of course, you can clear up the ignore list as well, and you can delete with only one message that you are clicked on. So, okay, I'm approved that message. Okay, I got a warning. I took action on it, and now I want to clear it, so don't bother me anymore. So I just say, okay, delete. And that's me going to delete that only message. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. That's a plugin that you can install.
It's a plugin.
It's a plugin that you can install in Mission Planner.
Okay.
It's not in the Mission Planner code base yet, but currently available as a separate plugin, and you can install it and use it. But I'm definitely planning to include it in the Mission Planner code base as well.
Well, where do I get it?
I will post on Discord and discuss a list of all the plugins that I mentioned here, and you can download it. And if you trust the developer, you can download the DLL file and install it directly. And if you don't trust, because trust must be earned, you can download the source code, compile it, and use it that way. Okay, and one more thing that I would like to show with this. I'm going to send a couple of same messages again. Now I have a couple of messages sent repeatedly. You can say, okay, I want to fold these messages, which means that I only display, if a message is repeating, I'm only displaying the last one of that message. Or I can fold it with severity included, which means that it's also sorted by severity. So high severity messages will be always at the top, warnings in the middle, and the info on the bottom. It's a setting that you can. Yeah, go ahead.
What you did here, so the lower message, if that one was repeating over and over again, it would just, the timestamp would update to the latest timestamp, and the message would just stay the same. Is that right?
Yes. And you can see that how many of these messages are already received. So currently I have 4 messages with level 4, code level 1 here. And the last one is the recent one based on the timestamp. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. And one more thing is the Mission Planner starter or multi-configuration. So perhaps you know that you can start Mission Planner with a command line argument to use a separate config XML, which is basically everything that you config in Mission Planner is stored in the config XML file. And often a request is, okay, I have 4 vehicles, each of them requires a different configuration. So what I did is, okay, this is actually a small plugin and an external program which lists all the config XML files available in the Mission Planner documents folder. And you can select the config XML and start Mission Planner with the selected config XML. It's a very small program, nothing special. Or you can use the default config to create a new configuration file, and you can set up your Mission Planner whenever you want. So I have a very big VTOL and a very small FPV. I need different settings for them. And okay, this is an extra program. This is an external program. What does the plugin do is you can add, somebody is sending Maverick on Bluetooth. Okay, it's add the definition of that config XML, the name of the config XML on the top line, so you always know that what configuration are you using, and you can use oops, I forgot Control G. So you can use Control G and bring up a window. You can rename your configuration or change the description of your configuration. Okay. Okay, and presentation. Okay, and the last slide is something which is upcoming into Mission Planner, which is European no-fly zone handling. Last year, there was a standard defining a common JSON schema for aviation authorities to publish UAS no-fly zone data. This is a standard, and EASA even requires all aviation authorities to do it. So they have to publish updated, up-to-date no-fly zone data for drone use. Of course, the standard is there, but EASA requires the aviation authorities to do that. They don't. So even if they do, they just put it in some obscure website in a download section that, okay, you can have this. So however, if you want to certify in Europe your drone, you have to comply, you will be able to read this data, and you have to act upon the data included in this JSON file. Fortunately, the certification authorities are not requiring operators to automatically download the data. They okay with the solution that if you copy it somewhere in your ground control station and then process it. Some elements are already in the Mission Planner, but not all. And to get certified for C1 to C4 or even C6 in Europe, you need to load and parse this JSON file, handle permanent and dynamic flight restrictions, which means that the data file could contain certain time frames for a no-fly zone to be active and or not active. I see, okay, it's active or every month, second week from Monday to Tuesday and from Friday to Sunday or something like that in a certain hours. You have to be able to comply with that. You have to display zone based on their status and information on the actual zone. You have to display a message for the proximity of the zones. So you have to tell the pilot that, okay, you are 43 meters of this no-fly zone. Fortunately, you don't have to act on it, so it's not a DJI, which is not allowed you to fly, but you have to tell the operator that you are inside the no-fly zone, and it's their responsibility to take off or not. And have to warn operator of disabled geo awareness, which means that if there is a GPS failure and you don't know the exact location of your vehicle, there must be a warning that, okay, this whole geofencing or no-fly zone thing is not working right now, please be aware. And finally, a quick demo for it. How is it working in real life? Currently, I have no, I don't want to connect. Okay, I have two zones defined in a JSON file, which is copied into Mission Planner directory and closer. Come on. Okay, one is the green one, which is defined as a no-fly zone, but currently it's inactive because the timing data is said that, okay, at this moment of time, it's not active. And the red one here is active at this moment. This is the second zone. See if I get the info, it says the second restriction is prohibited and from 0 meter to 120 meter AGL. And this one is start date to January to 8 to April to 22. And every Sunday and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's definitely not active at this moment of time. And if you, I'm flying. And if I'm cocky and flying into the zone directly, I have a constant update of the distance from that no-fly zone. And when I'm in it, there is a warning that, okay, you are now in the no-fly zone. And of course, there are overlapping zones that could be handled by multiple messages. So it's a whole rabbit hole to being compliant for all the requirements. But this update is coming to Mission Planner in the upcoming weeks. Yep.
So it seems like it's not required that these fences make it into Autopilot itself as fence objects, but is it possible to send those to the autopilot if you want to avoid them?
The problem is that in a small country, okay, so in a small country, let's say Hungary, which is a very small country, this NFC, a normal published no-fly zone contains about 6,000 different entries. So there's no way that we can move it to the Mission Planner, to the Autopilot. Even in Mission Planner, we have to call it based on the location and the distance from the location because otherwise it's going to slow down to grow. And it's a requirement from the GCS, not the requirement from the flight controller. Actually, even if I think that in certain three-letter drone manufacturer, they are storing all the data on the GCS controller and not in the. Okay. Yeah, so that's all. Any questions? Okay, lunch. Yeah, I see. I fill the room. Okay, so thank you very much for your attention. If you have any further questions, just find me, I'll be around. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the Arduino Pilot Developers Conference 2025. With thanks to our sponsors, 3DXR, Aerosystems West, CUAV, QPilot, High-Tech, Polybro, IR-Lock, KH Unmanned, Kraus Hamdani Aerospace, Maytech, Modal AI, Northwest Blue, SD Model, and Theseus. Organised by KH Unmanned. Hosted by 3DXR in North Yorkshire. Broadcast by Q Branch.